everybody, I'm Prowl, and today I have for you what I think is one of the best, if not the best, Necromancer build, and it's one that not really many people are using. It's not Bone Spear, it's not Infinimist, it's a whole heck of a lot more fun than those builds are. I've been using it since, I think Season 1 is when I figured this build out, and it just got better in Season 2 to the point where I had to abandon my Sorceress and go back to it. It's just so fun. So we're going to go over the skill tree, we're going to go over the aspects, we're going to go over the Paragon board. I want to show you everything that we have here so you can understand what this build is, how this build works. And this is my first build guide I've done for Diablo 4. I'm used to doing like Minecraft tutorials and stuff, so cut me a little bit of slack here, and also even drop me some comments down below and let me know of things that you would change within this build. But let's go ahead and let's get started with what this build is and how this build works. Now, this build I call the Lancermancer build because it uses Bloodlance, and it uses a lot of very specific aspects and gear to make this build work, but none of the gear is really that hard to get. The hardest thing to get to make this build work is the Ring of Sacrilegious Soul, which gives you the auto corpse explode, auto corpse tendrils, and that sort of thing. And even this is not required, but it does make the build a bit easier. This build utilizes Overpower. Overpower will make it to where you get big crits, and it uses a few aspects that make Bloodlance a lot better. And as you can see here, you should see it work. First of all, you see all the blood orbs being formed. I'm going to go ahead and start firing off here. Actually, we had a little bit of lag because of how much we just took off of all of the damage that we just did there. But basically, you use Bloodlance in a few different ways that does a significant amount of single target damage if there are other targets in the area, and on top of that, it will do a lot of damage to a lot of mobs, like area effect damage really fast, especially as you build up blood orbs. And even with the vampiric powers, we get a lot of these other orbs that as you move around, if you feel like you need to, maybe you're dodging or something like that, you're even doing damage while you're dodging mobs and moving around because of the vampiric powers. This build is really awesome. It does max out attack speed. As you can see, I'm like full auto on the Bloodlance here, and as you see my mana or my essence on the bottom right hand of the screen here, it stays full, probably to the point where when I get a little bit later in this build, I might go through and peel back some of the mana or essence regeneration and see if I can squeeze in a little bit more damage. It's a very beefy build. You max out health. You're always fully fortified with the build. So right now I essentially have 12,000 life, and my character's only level 74, and I am far from maxed out, min-maxed with my stats on this character. So with all that being said, let's actually jump into the skills. Now, we're using d4builds.gg for this. I will leave a link down in the description if you would like to actually see all parts of this build. But here's what we're looking at. The skill tree is actually going to be not a lot of skills themselves being used, but a lot of passives. So we spent our 2 skill points in the basics just because we have to. We are not using a basic skill with this build at all. We have maxed out Bloodlance, and we're using Supernatural Bloodlance, which after every 6 lances, the 7th lance will overpower. We want to proc overpower as much as possible, and we have a lot of things to do that. With how fast we hit, we actually overpower quite often. So this makes it a pretty decent single target damage build, even though it does excel at multi-target damage. Also, the Bloodlance will spawn blood orbs, which you'll see throughout the theme of this build are very important. As far as other core skills, we're using Blood Mist, keeping that at rank 1, Corpse Explosion, keeping that at rank 1, and Corpse Tendrils, also keeping that at rank 1. Why? Because honestly, the timers on these for me are not very important. We're only relying on Blood Mist in a very extreme like situation where we're CC'd and we think we're gonna die. Probably not the safest way if you're doing a hardcore character, although maybe it is. You'll see as we talk about it a little bit later that it can be a fairly safe build with how often you're healing yourself. But Blood Mist, we're using Blood Mist, leaving behind 1 corpse every second when you use it. That way, if we need to generate some corpses for some particular reason, we can do so. Corpse Explosion is really just there as a method of getting essence, I guess. And I could probably even change and swap this out to something else as I develop this build into the later game. And corpse tendrils, super important for the root and the pulling together of mobs to make it easy to mass AOE kill all of them in like a split second. So the rank of it doesn't really matter because we don't really care about the damage of it. We don't really care about the cooldown of it too much because we have the ring that auto casts it every 8 seconds. But we do have that rank 1, and we're using corpse tendrils has a 35% chance to drop blood orbs when damaging enemies because again, we want to stack as many blood orbs as possible. Now, before we continue on with all the passes, I want to show you my skill bar here. Now we have Blood Mist, Corpse Tendrils. We have Raised Skeleton and Raised Golem. I am using Golems and Skeletons with this build. Personally, I like using them. First of all, they really never die because of the way that this build works. When you pick up blood orbs, it heals them. So that's awesome. That helps out quite a bit. They basically, no. And then with the ring auto casting, the raised skeleton, you essentially never have your skeletons or golems die. It's a great way to mitigate damage because they take on a lot of aggro and they offer some utility as well. The golem offers a stun and vulnerable. Even though we're not building around vulnerable, we still get that multiplier damage whenever vulnerable is applied. So that is good. Also, the skeletons are helping us generate mana via the ice skeletons, and the Reapers help produce more corpses, which means more corpse tendrils, more mana regeneration. I keep saying mana, essence regeneration due to the corpse explosions that are happening every second. Moving back over to the skill tree, let's take a look at our passives because these are actually quite important in a number of different ways. First of all, we're using Hewed Flesh. Lucky Hit has a 12% chance to create a corpse at the target's location. We Lucky Hit a lot because Bloodlance has a 33% chance to Lucky Hit, and that's per lance as far as I can tell, which means that the lances that fork off of the primary lance due to some of our aspects and the lances that come from the blood orbs all give that chance of lucky hit, which means we're essentially lucky hitting all of the time. So anything that gets you a bonus from lucky hit or even improves your lucky hit chance is going to be really important and really useful with this build, and this generates us a lot of corpses. This isn't super important when you're talking about mass groups of mobs because you're already going to have lots of corpses, but if you're fighting more single target bosses or elites, this will help generate corpses, which will help keep your mana up, help keep the help with staggering the boss and that sort of thing. Down here, we are using Grim Harvest, which every time we consume a corpse, we get 6 essence, and when we consume, and we deal 9% multiplier increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. Anything with multiplier damage on it is going to be pretty nice because if you stack enough of them, they do all multiply off of each other and can help out quite a bit. So we do have Fueled by Death there. And then I have Skeletal Warrior Mastery just to give a little bit extra beefiness to my Skeletal Warriors. We have that for mages as well. We have completely maxed out the entire passive blood tree here. We get 30% more healing from all sources, which is going to help keep our health maxed out all the time. As long as you're firing blood lances and hitting an enemy, you're not going to die unless you get one shot. I've tested this in a lot of different scenarios. I haven't seen anything that can kill me fast enough while I'm constantly hitting an enemy, except for a one-shot blow. Our blood skills have a 9% chance on lucky hit to create a blood orb at the target's location. So that's going to get us a lot more blood orbs. Our blood skills deal 18% multiplier damage while healthy. We stay healthy pretty much all the time. Our blood skills deal 15% multiplier overpower damage, and that's doubled while healthy. So again, that's a 30% multiplier to overpower. And on lucky hit with blood skills, we have a 30% chance to fortify for 8% of our max life. So this is one of those things that keeps us at maximum life all the time as we play. Here's another fortify mechanic. We're fortifying for 6% max life whenever a corpse is formed from one of our skills or one of our minions. We have a couple of like supplemental minion things here every 8 seconds. The skeletal priest. This is just one of those things that helps keep the skeletons alive a little bit longer. We only needed 1 point in it. And we have 3 points in the Inspiring Leader, which gets us a 12% attack speed bonus. Inspiring Leader is also really important. After we've been healthy for 2 seconds, we get a 12% attack speed bonus. Really more for us than the minions, although it does affect the minions as well. And then also we have Death's Defense. Our minions do gain a 12% increased armor and 24% increased resistance to all elements. Just helps keep them alive a little bit longer. This is something as I get a little bit later in the game I might test with and modify this build a little bit to take this out and maybe even take this out too. And the minions are still staying alive pretty well. That's 4 points we can maybe put put elsewhere on the board. And of course, we have to take Rathma's Vigor. This gives us a overpower hit after 12 seconds of being healthy. Again, we're pretty much healthy all the time. So this is a overpower after every 12 seconds on top of an overpower every 7th hit. So this is going to help us generate a lot of overpower hits very consistently. And then here's the big one here. This timer is reduced by 2 seconds each time blood orbs heal or overheal you for an amount greater than or equal to your base life. We're literally healing and overhealing and fortifying all the time, and we're generating a lot of blood orbs if we're not using them with our lances. We'll go over that in a little bit. So this is also really important and helps us get more overpowers. Okay, next I want to go over the aspects here. I'm going to try to go over them pretty quick because I know it could be long-winded with these little bit, but all of our aspects are really going to revolve as much as possible around multiplier damage, around blood lance, and around fortify and blood orbs. Now, a couple of the ones that I like to have on here, I consider these to be pretty decent defensive abilities because the extra minions does help keep aggro off of you and keeps mobs more busy on them. So we have a Cult Dominion and we have Blood Getters aspect, 2 additional Skeletal Warriors, 2 additional Skeletal Mages. Again, I could maybe even check with switching these out later on, but I do like having these in here for now. They do feel helpful in a lot of different situations. Disobedience for the extra armor. And here's a really important one, aspect of the Embalmer. Consuming a corpse has a 30% chance to spawn a blood orb. Again, we want to keep spawning blood orbs as often as possible. With the auto corpse explode, that's going to help out a lot. And then also, if I ever feel the need to generate blood orbs, or if I feel the need to generate essence, I may, at that maximum attack speed, hold down my corpse explode ability, not for the damage, but for the fact that it generates essence for me and it generates the blood orbs, which will again help me increase damage because the blood orbs, as you'll see here in a second, are going to generate extra lances. And of course, the blood orbs help for healing me, healing minions, etc. On our gloves, this one's extremely important because again, remember, we overpower hit very frequently. So aspect of Rathma's Chosen is a critical part of this build. You get a 50% attack speed increase for 4 seconds after overpowering, and once you proc that once in your constant casting, you keep it up indefinitely until you essentially get out of battle or run out of essence for a long period of time, which with this build, as you saw earlier, does not happen. But now let's get into the really fun ones. These are the ones that really bring this build online and will allow you, while you're leveling, to switch from maybe a little bit earlier game leveling build like Blood Surge and then switch over to using Blood Lance for leveling, because Blood Lance is better for leveling once you get these aspects online. Gore Quills is the first one. Blood Lance will consume blood orbs to also conjure lances from them. Each additional blood lance deals 20 to 50% of normal damage and prioritizes targeting unlanced enemies. So we talked about earlier, and this is where everything starts to come together. You generate a crap load of blood orbs, and then those blood orbs turn into damage because blood lances are coming out of them. Now we're going to combine that with aspect of Hungry Blood. Each cast of Blood Lance will launch an additional Blood Lance at a nearby enemy when it first hits an enemy that is already lanced, dealing 48% of normal damage. Now, as best as I can tell, I think this will launch extra lances from enemies that are hit by Gore Quills. So Gore Quill's lance comes out of a blood orb, hits an enemy. Aspect of Hungry Blood, I think, applies to that. And if that enemy is already lanced, it will then split off another lance. Now, aspect of Hungry Blood does not feed off of itself. So it won't hit a lance enemy, split off and hit another one, and then hit another one after that. It doesn't continually go on its own, but I do think it synergizes well with Gore Quills. But here's one that synergizes extremely well, and that's Blood Seeker's aspect. Blood Lance deals 25% increased damage to its primary target per lance enemy. This right here, this is your elite killer. This is your boss killer if there's a lot of different mobs around. Because as you're casting Blood Lance, you're putting a lot of lances in pretty much any mobs around via Gore Quills and via Hungry Blood. So for every additional enemy that you have lanced, which could be every enemy on your screen, 20, 30, 50 of them, It doesn't say there's a cap on this. So the more mobs on the screen, the more damage you do to high health enemies. So you'll always want to target that boss mob, that elite, and you will essentially, if there's other mobs on the screen, almost instantly take it down because of how much additional damage that you do from all of the extra damage from all the other lance enemies in the area. And then the last two parts of this build, the Ring of Sacrilegious Soul, which will auto corpse explode and auto raise skeletons every second, keeping that minion army of yours up at all times, and corpse tendrils every 8 seconds, which is very important and very nice to have. An aspect of Potent Blood finalizes this whole thing. While healthy, blood orbs will grant you 10 to 20 essence. So you're generating blood orbs all the time. You're picking up those blood orbs, or you're using them via the lances. The blood orbs are healing you. They're generating fortify for you. They're giving you essence. So anything you could do to keep blood orb generation up basically amplifies this build like tenfold. Now, when it comes to vampiric powers, there's a lot of really good ones to check here. Hemomancy is always great to use because it's just a big damage dealer. It's 80% of your max life, basically does damage to like the whole screen. And on a build like this, where you're focusing on overpower, and overpower will build based off of life, that means the more life that you have, the more damage you do with overpower, and the more damage you do with hemomancy. It's an obvious choice, basically. Blood Boil, when your core skills overpower an enemy, you spawn the volatile blood drops, which deal area effect damage. Also, every 20 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. So again, we're generating more overpower hits with that. We got Sanguine Embrace. When you kill an enemy, fortify for 6% of your base life. While you have more fortify than half of your minion maximum life, you gain 8% critical strike chance. So every time we kill an enemy, we're fortifying, and we're getting 8% crit strike chance on top of that. As long as we're fortifying, as long as we have more than half fortify, which again, we're full fortify pretty much all the time. So that's a big boost to crit strike chance. We got Terror. We have Ravenous. This one is huge. Up to a 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed for 6 seconds. That's actually huge because we lucky hit all the time. And if you even have just the base movement speed of 100%, that means you're getting 40% boost to attack speed on top of this, giving you a 50% boost to attack speed on top of the skill tree right here, giving us a 12% boost to attack speed. This is what's getting you to a 100% cap attack speed increase, meaning you do not need to put any attack speed on any of your gear. You can focus your gear on other stats. And lastly, Feed the Coven. On lucky hit, our conjurations, companions, or in their case, our minions, attacks have up to a 60% chance to restore 10 primary resource to you and increase your damage by 10% for 4 seconds. This is another huge essence generator because we have so many minions attacking all the time. That lucky hit is going to be feeding us essence back and allowing us, even at 100% attack speed, to keep a full bar of essence in most situations. Now, our gems, we are using rubies to generate more overpower damage in our weapon and our offhand. Of course, we're taking max life for our armor. That way we can boost up our overpower damage, make it harder for us to die, double our life with fortify, do more damage with do more damage with hemomancy. All that goes together. And then just a generic 5% resistance to all elements with our jewelry. Our skeletal warriors, we're taking the reapers that are having a 15% chance to carve flesh off of an enemy, giving us extra corpses to deal with. We're getting extra essence from our cold mages doing damage here. And then I've toyed with different ones here. The one I'm stuck to right now is the iron golem that will do the stun attack and make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. That vulnerable doesn't make that big of a difference, but the stun does make a pretty big difference because it will just keep enemies off of you for a little bit longer, allow you to get those free hits in at the beginning of a fight when everybody's pulled together with corpse tendrils. It just kind of all adds together to allow you to essentially delete mobs off the screen and not take any damage. I don't want to go over all of the stats here because that'll take too much time, but in general, we're focusing on total armor and max life for survivability, overpower damage and crit strike chance anywhere we can take it, ranks of bloodlance. If we can take lucky hit chance somewhere, we want to build that up too. We want to build in at least one of of each resistance and each piece of gear. I'm going to see what that looks like by the time we get to 100, but I feel like that's going to work really well. And everything else is really just focused around damage outside of that. So again, you can take a look here, and those are the things that you're looking for your gear. Last but not least is the Paragon board. And I do believe I build my Paragon board a little bit different than a lot of other people do. I know a lot of other people try to get as many boards as possible, and I take a little bit different of an approach. So I don't want to spend too much time here. You guys can pull up the build with the link down below and check it out. But essentially, we are using Blood Drinker in our first slot here. This one allows blood orbs to fortify us for max life. So as we pick up those blood orbs, we do fortify. Our second board we take is Bloodbath, and we put the Essence Glyph in that, which gives us extra critical strike damage. We did work our way around the board here to get extra overpower damage from this group of nodes, to get extra fortify generation and a little bit of extra damage from this group of nodes, especially damage while fortified. And we did get Bloodbath, our legendary node, which gets us a multiplier of 35% increased overpower damage. The next board we go to is Sense of Death. This has the Dominate glyph in it. When we overpower an enemy, all damage they take from you and your minions is increased by 12% multiplier for 5 seconds. We are doing overpower quite often, so this gives us a multiplier hit on, it's like elites and bosses is the main reason to take this. We did work our way down here to get some additional critical strike damage from this node group. We did take our legendary node here. For every 2 corpses, with 2 corpses nearby, we get a 15% damage reduction. So that's nice to have, a little bit of damage mitigation. And if there's no corpses nearby, like maybe we're safe, we're out of harm's way, firing into a group of mobs, we get a 15% multiplier damage there. We did grab the node over here for extra crit strike damage as well. Our next board is Flesh Eater. With this one, we used Territorial. We get a 15% damage reduction against close enemies. So again, I usually put myself like right in the fray, right in the middle of all of the damage, like right in the middle of all the fighting. That way, as the blood orbs and the volatile blood drops and all that stuff appears, like you're there to get it all. And then 10% increased damage to close targets with every dex. I think I'm getting like 100 something percent out of this area, 110%. That's a pretty decent damage increase. So Territorial Glyph is very nice here. We did get the legendary node here as well. Multiplier 40% damage after consuming 5 corpses for 6 seconds. This stays up pretty consistently with the auto corpse explode, auto corpse tendrils, auto raised skeleton. So this is nice to have. You're pretty much always getting that. We also did hit the node here for additional critical strike damage. And our last node here, Blood Begets Blood board. This is getting us Undaunted. We get a 10% damage reduction the more fortify that we have, and we're always fully fortified, so more damage reduction there is always nice. We get 8% increased damage while fortified per 5 willpower. We're fortified all the time, so this is a damage boost to the build as well. And then we did grab the overpowered damage portion of this board as well, getting quite a lot of overpower damage, 45%, 90% right there, another 22.5 and 22.5. Like this really brings your overpower hits online, is going to stack a ton of damage, especially against those single targets. So that's it. That's your Lancermancer build. Hopefully you guys like the build, and let me know if you try it down in the comments below. Let me know if you have any feedback on me doing this build guide. Like, how does it compare to others that you've seen? What can I do better? What did I do good already? And lastly, like, how would you change the build? I do think there's definite room to improve this build, and I'm definitely going to keep working on it as I go through to 100 with this particular character. And I don't know, if you like Necromancers, like, be sure to catch me on stream, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Click the like button on this video to help it get seen by more people. I do stream right here on YouTube, and Necromancer is my favorite class. I keep trying other classes. I keep going back to the Necro because I just have way too much fun with this build specifically. So I can't wait to see how it does at the end of Season 2, into Season 3, and beyond in Diablo 4. I appreciate you guys watching so much, and I'll see you next time.